Thank you all for coming tonight. I know most of you, but my name is Inga Bruggeman. I'm the Executive Director of the CODEX Foundation, and we're really pleased to have you here. We have and try to promote many events that create a wonderful crossroads between the literary and the visual arts, and this is definitely one of them. And all of the beautiful work that the Real Lead Saloon on the Saturdays does, which is what this exhibition is all about, this group of colleagues and friends, kind of ever evolving. There's kind of a core group, but people pop in and out of this group, and they sit tight together, they do binding together, they sometimes do beautiful marbled papers, like for Theresa's book, Divan del Tamarit. And you can see the various editions that they've done in the exhibition. But we also do occasionally printing poetry workshops. Jonathan teaches, and those sometimes are with other community members and sometimes with the UC Berkeley students. But we're really trying to promote and bring together these poets, writers, and artists. So thank you very much for coming. And I know you also have some books available. I'll let you kind of introduce those.
Okay.
And thank you for presenting your work.
Thank you, Inga.
Which has kind of grown out of this collaboration with the Real Lead Saloon.
Yay. Thank you. So it's wonderful to see some of the members of the Real Lead Saloon here. I've stopped in over the last year. My publication took a year of Saturdays. And not every Saturday, they don't meet every single Saturday, but I was able to be here for 3 or 4 of them, including the paper marbling session. So it was fantastic. I do have other books of mine available up here if anyone is interested when we take a break after the reading. So my particular publication, which is the most recent, on the far left there with the bright covers, is a poem called Divan del Tamarit. And the inspiration for that poem is the poet Federico Garcia Lorca, which I think everyone is pretty well versed in, him being one of the most preeminent Spanish poets of the 20th century. I traveled in Spain when I was 19, and I went to Spain thinking I was going to study to be a forest ranger, and I came back after having visited Lorca's hometown of Granada, knowing that I wasn't probably going to be a forest ranger, and that whatever I was going to do was going to have something to do with poetry. And so Divan del Tamarit, so Divan is from the Arabic, it means collection, so as in a collection of poems. And Tamarit is the country estate where Lorca grew up outside of Granada. So Divan del Tamarit essentially means a collection from my home, from my neighborhood. And it's a work that he wrote between 1931 and 1934, and at his home estate. And it was an homage to the Moorish culture of Spain, which he felt was hugely inspirational for him. And he was assassinated by agents of Franco in 1936 at the start of the Spanish Civil War when he was 38 years old. And the book Divan del Tamarit with his poetry in it was published posthumously in 1940. So I happened to be in Morocco in 2012. I was attending the International Sacred Music Festival in Fez. And I heard, as part of that program, of flamenco artist, singer, singing the words of Lorca to piano compositions by a Moroccan pianist named Christian Boissel. And the flamenco artist's name was Rocio Màrquez. And I was so moved by that I wrote this poem. So that's sort of the background of that. The book, Lorca's book, was composed of both qasidas and gacelas, that's the Spanish. Gacelas, I guess, well, they're both Arab literary forms. Gacelas, I think, is pronounced in English as ghazals. And so he wrote strictly in those Arab forms, wanting to honor that heritage. So it was wonderful that in Morocco, I got to hear a program returning the respect, to him. And so I've chosen poems for tonight's reading to go with some of these themes. And by extension, deep song and Portuguese fado music, which has a lot of similarities with American blues. And the location of the poems shifts between Spain, Morocco, Portugal, California, and with just a little bit of Sanskrit thrown in. So I'll start with Sanskrit. Nod. This is a Sanskrit word for transcendental, astral, psychic, or paranormal music. Nod. It doesn't matter so much whether you are a bear being led down the streets of Istanbul by your keeper, or a manufacturer of accordions, whether it is a fire-eating boa constrictor tattooed around your right arm, or a dragonfly framed in a locket against your throat. But what small thought occurs to you when you're caught off guard? How you let the wind into your house. Amêndoa amarga. Portuguese for bitter almond. Starts with it is a Portuguese fado song by the great Amália Rodrigues. And it starts with Por ti falo e ninguém pensa, mas eu digo minha amêndoa, meu amigo, meu irmão. For you I speak, and no one knows, but I say, my almond, my friend, brother of my heart. Amêndoa amarga. I want your eyes the way they were last night, fondly falling across my shoulders, searching my eyes briefly, then drawing away. I want your body that knows the dawn, that knows despair and also tranquility, how both are met here in the shadows, by our bodies reaching across each other to raise or lower the light. I speak, and no one knows that my words are for you. My enduring shadow, my beloved friend, my more than life. I live for you, and no one knows that this heart can have such a song. I lean towards you there by the window and take this memory of your body in sunlight with me. It gives me so much happiness and the kind of pain that only love dissolves. One day, my friend, my almond tree, my warrior, we will cross the night together. We will untie the gate by the old pasture. We will walk into the moonlight and drop slowly down by the creek, our noble reserve, our chancy hopes, our old wounds. Estranha Forma de Vida, another fado, also by Amália Rodrigues, but also she partnered with Alfredo Marceneiro, who was one of the amazing male fadistas of the early 20th century. Estranha Forma de Vida translates roughly as a strange form of life or a strange way to live. I forget whose business it is to make sure that leaves are translucent enough in the spring, so that an avenue of walnut breaks the heart of the moon just right. And you can steep the leaves into a tisane, which can be poured over the sleeping widow, the winning chess player, the freshly sutured highway accident. I don't know where this busybody got off to, this magician with a capricious smile. But someone was supposed to keep the water trickling with the sound of bells and memories, and remind us to write somewhere into the book that dogs possess the eyes of people we once loved, and that morning is morning because of a great deal of light. The leaves have been turning ahead of schedule, the fruit going from green to rotten. There is smoke in the air. The evidence is everywhere. There is something in our blood which will never be finished. Entire hillsides hemorrhage their load of wildflowers. Forests coat the ridges with vivid wart-like growths. It isn't even restricted to machines anymore. We can do anything. It is everywhere. What a strange way to live. To come from such an intricate fertility, able to synthesize sunlight and compose madrigals, and find so many reasons to unwrap the package before it's even our birthday. A dozen ways to vandalize the pantry. We are a byproduct, a sleeping God's daydream, a God that got up, apparently, and moved on. What a strange way to be left. No wonder the edges of things are fuzzy. Sex, grief. We were never meant to come to completion or dance to the end of the 7 veils. Mystery is our only ally, and as solace, we have violence, a misapprehension of the void. It explains why the soul is always thirsty, why we have sacred fools who wander the earth, why we think that age brings patience when we are not nearly impatient enough. A sweetness, perhaps, the almost bidden scent of summer grasses stricken with beauty. Those who think we still inhabit a dimensional world imagine they can simply wrap it all up again, pretend to be surprised, forbid stem cell research, use the bludgeon of regret, the Puritan tools of hard pleasance. But where we stand in the river, it is not very deep. We can wade out further where the water is green and lovely. We can walk a ways along the bank until we remember other things, that snakes are always surprising, that there is a homeopathic form of sin on the tooth of a rattler, that we die and that we live every day, not just once. Yet there is only one time, or if not, it has hardly mattered. Pocket. I've been walking in the land of the nameless, walking amongst objects of stone, objects of glass, the lone, dire country in which my mother is now lost. I have been sleeping. For the past year, I have been sleeping or craving sleep, or subtly waking or listening to messengers of sleep, or buying sheets and pillowcases. Standing at the window, I have been sleeping. Friends have been helping me. They have been in my dreams helping me, sometimes cooking, sometimes naked, or both. In the dreams, I am bathing. I've been sleeping so I can bathe, letting the warm water fall over me in soft rivulets, washing the way clean. I've been walking in the place where there are no names for anything, no landmarks. My mother is here somewhere, lost to me. My father is here somewhere further on, my sister here, lost. Their small names are all that's left of them in my knowing and in my way of walking and in my pocket. I have had to set aside language to come here and am left with syllables, heat. So in, I think, 2009, I was commissioned to work with a group of people on a project called Vigil for Iraq. And this was a poem that came out of that project. It's called Azmar. And it starts with a quote from a book called Night and Horses and the Desert, the anthology of classical Arabic literature. Thus saith Muhammad ibn Ishaq al-Nadim, the first people to collect stories, devoting books to them and safeguarding them in libraries, some of them being written as though animals were speaking, were the early Persians. And this, Ibn al-Nadim refers to fictions as evening stories, Azmar, as one was not supposed to spend the daylight hours on such idle stuff. Azmar, I am here to tell you such a story. It is night, or almost. We are here in Berkeley. It is a time of dreams and fictions. There is much to say about the town and its planet, about our fragile hold on its crust, about the vast world of stars. And I speak to you under the cover of darkness because that has always been a time when things can be said that could not otherwise be unsaid. 11 centuries have passed since al-Nadim first wrote about devoting books to collecting stories. A car bomb explodes on Mutanabi Street in Baghdad. It is the spring of 2007. Mutanabi Street is the historic center of Baghdad's bookselling, with bookstores and outdoor bookstalls, cafes, stationery shops, tea and tobacco shops, pretty much just like Telegraph Avenue here in Berkeley. It is a mixed Shia-Sunni area, named after the 10th century Iraqi poet al-Mutanabi. More than 30 people are killed and more than 100 wounded, and the books burn. The area is destroyed. It takes a year and a half for the street to be reopened. The Souk al-Warakin, or book dealers' market in 10th century Baghdad, contained 100 booksellers. It's exactly like Telegraph Avenue. Some of these shops doubled as literary salons, and for example, Ibn al-Sam's bookstore provided a rendezvous for philosophers. Medieval book dealers often branched out into the manufacture of paper and the copying of manuscripts. So, these stories we tell each other, this culture of majlis, of soirees, at which poets and scholars strut and compete with each other and tease each other with their wits and send words on wings to devour our souls. You must now imagine that it contains a silence inside of it that goes on for a year and a half, a century and a half, a millennium and its half. That's nearly 60 million heartbeats for each one of us. Imagine the musical composition that could encompass such a silence. Which is why I'm here to tell you a story. It is night, a time of dreams and fictions. There is much to say about Telegraph Avenue and its planet, about our fragile foothold on this earth. about the vast world of stars. We are in a garden. Your lover is nearby. She is wearing a cloak of dark purple. He is perched on a stone wall covered with lichen, and he plays his guitar. Speak softly then, or you will disturb the heart of the night. Speak quietly from the balcony that overlooks the garden. Toss me your scarf because the moon is wounded. Walk softly on the balcony overlooking the gardens. Toss me your scarf because there has been an explosion and I am dead. The garden is gathering the dew in its throat. Speak tenderly on this balcony overlooking the flowers and the vegetables. Toss me your scarf. I am losing my soul. I'm going to read one more poem, and then we're going to read a poem of Lorca's. I'll have some help with that. And then I will be reading my Divan del Tamarit poem. So this is called Sleeping with the Eyes Half Open, and starts with a little quote from the Portuguese poet Eugenio de Andrade. É lugar ao sul, lugar onde o cal amotinada desfia o olhar, onde viviste, onde às vezes no sono vives ainda. It's a place in the south, a place where whiteness gone wild stares you in the eye, where you lived, where sometimes in sleep you are living still. Sleeping with the eyes half open. Your breath in your mouth complete, my lips seeking yours, even in the empty places beside me. And with what courage I lift your head to the light, or what's left of your head, your tongue gone wild, your sex, the glint in your eyes when you would sleep with them half open. My love, we lived. We lived for over 3 decades in bedrooms carefully arranged for your night's carnival, placing only images within view of the bed that were almost transparent, that were themselves dreaming, that had a sense of improbable grace and reassurance, so as not to enter into your dreams and wreak havoc. I will never forget our first night together, there in the place above the print shop by the ocean. I woke in the morning and thought you had died. I had never been with a man who slept with his eyes half open. With what courage I turn your head to the light, only to look down and see my own hand holding tenderly my own puzzled and alternate hand, or the water that has so recently paid its fond, hot caress over my scalp, slithering away to the drain. And when we came to dress you for your death, in that small room where we had lived so well and so fitfully, I had forgotten to close your eyes the night before. So accustomed I was to your existence between the worlds. And I realized that great respect shown by this gesture of the closing of the eyes of the dead. At the same moment, I realized it was no longer mine. I had forgotten. When the men from the mortuary arrived just after dawn, there you were, gazing impertinently out at the gray morning. And I don't have the pronunciation of your first name. Candida Silva is going to read for us in one of Lorca's poems in Spanish. And it is a poem from his collection, Divan del Tamarit. And then I will read the English.
Gacela de la terrible presencia. Yo quiero que el agua se quede sin cauce. Yo quiero que el viento se quede sin valles. Quiero que la noche se quede sin ojos y mi corazón sin la flor del oro. Que los bueyes hablen con las grandes hojas y que la lombriz se muera de sombra. Que brillen los dientes de la calavera y los amarillos inunden la seda. Puedo ver el duelo de la noche herida, luchando enroscada con el mediodía. Resisto un ocaso de verde veneno y los arcos rotos donde sufre el tiempo. Pero no ilumines tu limpio desnudo como un negro cactus abierto en los juncos. Déjame en una ansia de oscuros planetas, pero no me enseñes tu cintura fresca.
Gacela of the Terrible Presence. This is a translation into English by W.S. Merwin. I want the water reft from its bed. I want the wind left without valleys. I want the night left without eyes and my heart without the flower of gold. And the oxen to speak with great leaves and the earthworm to perish of shadow. And the teeth of the skull to glisten and the yellows to overflow the silk. I can see the duel of the wounded night writhing in battle with the noon. I resist a setting of green venom and the broken arches where time suffers. But do not illume your clear nude like a black cactus open in the reeds. Leave me in this anguish of dark planets, but do not show me your cool waist. Oh, Lorca. So, Divan del Tamarit, and gratitude to the members of the Real Lead Saloon for the beautiful and very sensitive design and creation and production of this beautiful little broadside book piece. Divan del Tamarit. Todas las tardes el agua se sienta. All afternoon the water sat down. And the dove and the piano chord repeat this over, over, over and over. And the dove and the quiet of the afternoon with our many passes at the moon. I wave my white scarf, I wave my white face. I let pass the moon of the morning, I let pass the moon of the sea. But it is when the night bends itself double under a bank of stars that I will not let the moon go. I will not let the moon go. I will not let the moon down. I will not allow the moon to turn away. And the dove and the old tree gather where the piano is making moonlight out of a garden. All afternoon the water sat down. The doorway, the child, the utter silence. A muezzin calls at the same moment as the most intricate piano trill. Much wind, a dead poet. Wind. Do not leave your face vacant on the counter or the moon will pick it up. Take your dress down to your shoulders here so the wind can touch you there. What a thing. What sleep he has, the dead poet. The wind, the teeth of the wind. And then a cry from out of the throat. I have much fear. I have the required bravado. I have other things as well. Oak branch that holds up the tongue of the bell, made of the wood of the pomegranate. Granada in the moonlight. I can hear only the tongue of the bell, body of longing. The dove crosses the moon on her way elsewhere, leaving us with empty throats, leaving us with ourselves alone, leaving us with the dove and the piano chord, with the wind.